Well, a lot of you enjoy when we do this, and Raquel came in today in, I just think this is a glorious
Thank you.
sweatsuit. You're welcome. And so I dressed to match for this segment, but this is an interesting discussion today. Um, Boy, things seem to be moving at warp speed right now. And there were a number of events that we'll discuss. I just want to, it's one of my rants, and you can see we're going to go under the covers in a little bit, but it's so nice, and I'm doing the setup, but we'll be under the covers, and you'll see how we can have our feet comfortably at a right angle. Wow.
Looking sexy.
Looking sexy, of course. Okay. In no exact order, I continue to be so pleased that Kansas City lost in the Super Bowl. And why? Because it's a package deal. Trump shows up there, right? Taylor Swift, one of our great heroes, superstar, gets booed. They booed Taylor Swift. And Trump, the president of the United States of America, gloats like a 15 or 16-year-old bully. Prick. That's what went on. And I'm so glad he came out on before Kansas City, because Patrick Mahomes and Mother Mahomes and his wife are MAGA nuts. So I'm glad you lost and got your ass kicked. All right, a little closure on that. There were other major events. You watch Saturday Night Live sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So Saturday Night Live started when I was a teenager, when I was young. And now it's perfectly fine. But at the time, have a joint and watch Chevy Chase and John Belushi and Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd. And I mean, it's been part of who I am and part of who so many of us are right along. And obviously then Eddie Murphy burst onto the scene and all these people then went on to become giant stars. And so I'm bringing this up because if you haven't seen it, maybe SNL celebrated its 50-year anniversary. Lorne Michaels, a Canadian, launched Saturday Night Live, and I won't go into a whole retrospective but the stars that were there, it was glittering, a who's who. But what stole the show, and there were some crappy skits, and there always are. Saturday night, listen, they let it hang out, and there's a lot of failures and joy in the failures too, and people being stupid. Big stars letting it hang out. But what stole the show, for me, but for many, was Adam Sandler.
Mm-hmm.
He came out with his acoustic guitar and he sang he's on tune, but he's just off tune, but he's on tune, and he sang from the heart, and he sang from about stars who have also passed, and from SNL, and it was beautiful. I sat there with tears in my eyes. And SNL, good for you. I'm going to bring up one more thing, and then we're going to shift, and we're going to continue under the covers. Kim Kardashian was at SNL, and she has hosted, and she certainly hasn't been the musical talent. She doesn't, to my knowledge, she doesn't have really any talent, although she did sing a little. She was in a skit next to Scarlett Johansson, which was really interesting because you saw a couple things. One, Kim is miniature.
Yeah.
I don't think everyone realizes she's just a miniature little thing.
Minion.
Yeah, exactly. And the second thing that came out when you see them side by side, Scarlett, you are just gloriously gorgeous. There's just such appeal. So putting you next to Kim Kardashian, it jumped out that much more. And where I'm going with this, though, is I talked about in our prior segment about Kanye West and his horrible Nazi anti-Semitism. And Kim, you were married to him for years. Yeah, you have children with him, you know. You obviously know. It's not like this suddenly developed, so you know. And plus you suck up to Trump. And SNL is the anti-Trump. They're all about freedom for all, and joy, and peace, and freedom, and justice. And I couldn't help it. But I sat there and I was like, oh my God, they invited a mole to tell on the people, like McCarthyism. Anyhow, I hope I'm wrong, but you're like a double agent, aren't you? Trying playing it both ways, Kim. The most famous porn star in the history of the world. And yeah, your name does have a K like Kangapoda, but I just thought it was really weird. Let us go under the covers now. You're going to go on that side. I'm going to go on this side. We'll show the comfortable feet. We'll pull this down. Okay. Well, up. There we go. Thanks. It really is so nice to have comfortable feet.
It is.
All right. I'm going to sit up a little more. You want to sit up, or should I lay back with you? I'll lay back with you.
I'm going to take a nap.
All right. Okay. So let's talk about some other stuff. And you can sort of zoom in. You got our feet, and now you can get us up here. The NBA All-Star Game, and I know you like the NBA, so it was a disaster. It's been heading to be a disaster for a long time. But I've been telling you, the NBA, in my opinion, is the greatest game, the greatest sport on earth. So why are ratings down? Well, look at Trump. Why does Trump show up at the NFL? Why does Trump show up at the hockey game and not the NBA? Because we're in Black History Month, and I'll tell you something, Trump would eliminate Black History Month, Martin Luther King Day, he'd eliminate black rights if he could. You Jews who are supporting this, you're the worst of the worst. You're the worst of the worst. Just embarrassment. You're intelligent, but you're greed. Remember Never Again? And you're allowing this horrible, horrible usurpage, raping to go on. But back to the game. The format was just lousy. Getting giant stars to play hard, and giant stars, well-paid, rich men, and women, but we're talking NBA right now, to really beat each other up in a staged make-believe event, it's not like the old days. It's not like we have an all-star game and we haven't seen all of these players. They're overexposed. We see them all the time. They're constantly on. So running replay after replay of all the dunks we know it all. It killed us. Draymond Green, listening to him was painful as hell. Denigrate everything. He thinks he's a know-it-all. Bother the hell out of me. Also, it's important to showcase the rising stars, show the passing of the torch, so you're wrong. And this thought that we're going to copy hockey, and I'm going to lead into hockey in 1 second, and now we're going to go play country against country. That's what the Olympics are for. The NBA is a family, and maybe you can't get them to beat each other up. So we'll go to hockey. Let's talk hockey. I'll sit up. Let's talk hockey. Because in the finals, USA played Canada, and it had incredible ratings. Apparently 14 million people watched. But let's talk about the dynamics. What is going on in the world? Didn't Trump just talk about annexing Canada? Oh, he did, right? And didn't Trump, before the game, call into the American All-Stars? And just like, Hitler in the stands of Berlin, or what he did also at the Super Bowl? So there he is, Trump, pitting the United States against Canada. And Canada